Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about tooling. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how do you figure out the right tool for the job? You become a true senior. Well, uh, this is actually the best answer that I can give you. So when I say true senior, if you've watched any of my other videos where I try to define that for you, is that the true senior is an individual who has worked long enough in this industry and knows you can basically call them a full stack developer. It doesn't have to be a full stack developer, but we're talking about an individual who has been in the game for so long that if they don't know the specific tool, they know what to look for in order to solve the problem, or what tools are available. It might not be their expertise, but they know how to get the thing done in the correct way. It's to me the person who is, well, it's basically the individual who is going to be able to, it's the only individual who can scale your company in a sustainable way. That's what a true senior is. And the only way they get to be such a person is that they have years and years and years of trial and error with multiple tools. They know they are wide, if that makes sense, as opposed to very deep. It depends, of course. I mean, the right tool for the job could be in a very niched thing. Of course, you could be very, very specific and have to have a really strong understanding of a very specific niched area. But usually, as I said, it's more about traveling. As to professional traveling, as I call it, where you have to be exposed to a lot of different tooling. And so I will go as far as to say that I make the argument that the way that we divide things today, like back end, front end, etc., it's unsustainable long term for the continued growth which you're seeing in IT right now. I truly believe that there is no way to sustain this way of working at this rate we look at increase. If we look at the increase in diversity in our ecosystem, where we're talking about more and more tooling and specialized ways of working are emerging to the point where you might need, as I like to joke, it's at this point you basically need an entire company of people to run one server. If you're just boxing people into front end, back end, ops, etc., it becomes almost unsustainable. So the way that you fix this, in my opinion, is, as I said, you need individuals who are true seniors, the people who are able to basically make any part of the application development process work, because that might not have been exactly. And to give you an example, to make it a little bit concrete, so yesterday I was working with, and this, I mean, it's just me, so I wouldn't put myself at the level of true seniority just yet, if I'm gonna be honest, but I hope that it gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I am not an ops person, I'm not a DevOps engineer or anything like that, but I have worked with most of the tools that DevOps engineers are using on a daily basis, that their understanding is usually much deeper than mine. But I still know them to the point where I can hold a conversation, I can explain to them what I need, I can explain what the team is trying to build, etc. And so I asked a guy who is my he has exactly the same amount of years as I do, but he has exclusively worked in front end, exclusively, nothing else whatsoever. And I am a little bit wider than him in terms of knowledge. I've worked across the entire stack, as I said, with ops, back end, front end, all of that stuff, right? And then, I mean, I'm also hired as a front end developer, so we're doing the same sort of work. He got a story to where he needed to go to the operations team and explain to them that we need to reconfigure our Kubernetes cluster in a way so that, because we were talking about how we wanted to orchestrate the system, right? And I mean, he is a senior, he is a quote unquote a senior, so he understands what a server is. It's not like he doesn't understand any backend stuff. But basically, when he went and talked to the ops team, he came back and said that it cannot be done. and he blamed it on the fact that the person who was helping him was like seemed to be a beginner, wasn't really like a very experienced ops person. And then we sort of in this situation where we can't really move forward. So then I go and talk a few weeks later, and it turns out that although this person may not have been like the master of masters when it comes to ops, when I spoke to him and I explained to him in the terms that sort of like what we're looking for, like what type of solutions we're looking for, and I actually explained to him that we're probably looking for establishing a new namespace with a specific ingress, and then we want these other products to work as services where we can sort of proxy the requests from this gateway ingress basically and move it toward further down into like our application ecosystem, right? When I explained it to him in the ways, like using the language and the terminology that he understood, he actually understood what we wanted to build. And that was only because I actually know the tools that he's talking about. Like I couldn't do it myself because unfortunately in our company I can't, like we have a different split of how to do things. But my other coworker could not have explained that, and that's simply because he does not have the understanding of like tools and like what the underlying technologies and so forth and so forth. So he cannot express what he's looking for, right? And the same thing goes, I would say, for anything you want to do. If you don't know, and this is, I suppose, the biggest and greatest argument there is for mathematics, where if in mathematics, if you are a true master of mathematics, you can basically express an abstract form. I don't think that that's the whole story because it's more complicated than that, but it's the foundation idea I think is very solid. You can express the solution to almost any problem using mathematics. The concrete implementation but might be more complicated, but at the very least you can mentally express what it is that you want to achieve. And that is the exact thing that a true senior software developer is able to do. The senior is at the point in their career where they have done it all. They know how to set up a CI pipeline. They know how to set up high availability. They know how to create a development process. They know how to structure a team. They know how to run a business or like run like an IT business and so forth and so forth. They have all that knowledge, and that means that they know what they need. They might not know the exact product at this moment that they're going to pick, but they know what the product has to do. They can identify it. It's sort of like, you know, if you're going to create a shipping company or something like that, you might not know the exact brand of trucks you're going to use, but you know that they're going to have to carry a certain amount of load. You know that like they have to have certain agreements in place, etc., etc., and that comes from experience, my friend. So what I want you to take away from this is that the way you figure out the right tool for the job is to know about all the tools. And before you now, as a very naive junior, go out and say, all right, cool, I'm going to learn out all the tools. Nope. That's not going to work, because the problem is, as I've sort of explained, where if you take my little story there, the guy who was quote unquote fresh in his role as a DevOps engineer, well, he lacked the deep understanding of, in this case, Kubernetes, to understand what my coworker was trying to say. So my coworker knew very little about the tool, so he could not explain what he needed to this ops person. But at the same time, the ops person had such a quote-unquote poor understanding of his own tool suite, his own thing that he was doing, that he could not assist my coworker. It was only when I could explain to that person using his language, because I'm not going to go as far as to say that I let's just say I understood Kubernetes to the point where I could explain to him what I needed. But he could not understand someone who was not able to explain it to him in the same way, right? Which brings me to the real point. You have to earn this understanding, and my tip to you, if you want to be the person who knows the right tool for the job in all circumstances, is let it take time and get good at each tool that you continuously learn. Start maybe in front end, then go back end, or go full stack immediately. Learn ops, learn machine learning, learn all of these sorts of things, right? Because it's going to take you an entire lifetime practically if you wanted to, stretch this to this furthest limits. I don't think you have to go that far, but I hope that that makes sense, guys. There is no one who's going to be able to know the right tool for the job unless they have seen enough to actually know that this situation requires this sort of solution. And at the same time, if you only know loosely a bunch of names, and that's the classic one, right? People pretending like they know something that they don't know. They just drop, like I've seen this on the comment sections all the time. People like sprinkle, oh yeah, you're using this tool and you should be doing this in this and this and this situation. I kind of go, oh god. It's like they've taken one boot camp and learned the absolute basic, and now they act as if they're like the big cheese on this topic. It's like I imagine gun enthusiast or car enthusiast watching these kids who have never even driven or fired a gun talk as if they're like the most elite there is on the topic, whereas someone who might have been involved in that sphere for most of their life kind of go, these kids, man. Have a great day.